I just got back from a meeting with the developers at the first ever Call of Dragons meetup, and the developers did a Q&A session where they revealed some important stuff about the direction of the game, including new mages coming soon, and then maybe a flying mage as well. So stick around in this video for all the things you need to know. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons. And look, there's a lot to talk about in the meetup that went down in Cologne, Germany. It was an amazing event, and I gotta give a big shout out to the makers of Call of Dragons for sponsoring my trip out there. They flew me out to Germany, which, man, I am still very jet lagged from that, and I had an awesome time. So let's get into the Q&A section, which is about 30 minutes of this meetup. I mean, the overwhelming majority of this meetup is just hanging out. But there was a art and design team in France that attended the meetup in person alongside some of the Call of Dragons community managers. And they answered a bunch of questions, and I thought that the representative was a really clear and great speaker. So let's just jump right into it. The first question that folks asked is, hey, bro, why is the season so long? Activity drops off at the end of the season. We all know this happens. So why is the season so long? And they said, well, they did already reduce the length of season 1. And they know the time is kind of too long right now. Pets give you something to do, but they understand it's really not enough. And so they're still optimizing the time between seasons and want to give you enough to do. Now, look, my perspective on this is that perhaps it's better to give people more time at the start of the season than the end of the season. The end of the season, you already know who's won and lost. At the beginning of the season, it's still an open possibility space. So I think that would be the better time to spend too much time at the start of a season before dragon is declared. And I've shared my thoughts on that in depth in other videos, that as soon as the dragon's captured, you should be in your new season within 5 days. So my opinion. Let's go to the next one here, which is, can we automate the scout building instead of manually having to scout? And the devs said, you know, hey, look, we totally get that we need to find a balance here, and there's maybe too many notifications, and they're trying to reorganize all those notifications, and maybe in the next version, we will see some improvements. So I don't think we're getting an auto scout, but they are looking at minimizing the number of notifications, which I think is not a bad thing. Up next. Question, can we speed up the alliance chests? This is a funny one. So, you know, look, I mean, even I observed that if you play on an iPad, like you can click this through these chests pretty quickly, but on, you know, PC especially, if you click this 10x button, it still takes longer. So like it's less clicks, but takes longer, which didn't really solve the problem of like, hey, can we spend less time every day claiming these rewards? And the answer here was that they would basically get a look at it. And they understood the problem was the speed. So they're going to get a look at that. Now, this next question is a big one. I suppose I should have left this screen open. Is cross-server migration going to happen? And if yes, when? And great news. The developers would like to have this done before Season 3 lands. So they said, hopefully, before Season 3 lands. So it's not here yet, but prepare to join the Smash Squad if you are a high-power, super active player in Call of Dragons. I think we're going to have an amazing migration in when that happens. So at the end of this season, and like, look, we've already got some really big players that have expressed interest in joining us. So finally, with cross-server migration, we will become the sort of group that I think we've really aspired to be, where everyone has the right level of activity and a big level of punch. So definitely be on the lookout for joining up with us when crossover migration happens. Shameless plug here. Can we expect changes for alliances at the end of the season reset? And, you know, the developer said, you know, look, we understand alliances are kind of a pillar of the game and a pillar of how the community feels about the game. And they recognize the sort of contrast of alliance growth versus season resets. So they're starting to address this, and it's in the works. So look, I've covered this way in depth. I think the idea of alliances is a really goofy thing to have in this game. Instead, I think you need an expedition team. Your expedition team queues up for an expedition together. An expedition team could be 2 alliances ultimately, but that expedition team should be like your home server. And then you power balance the starting zones based on the strength of the expedition teams. That way, it's actually a balanced season. You want good gameplay? Make the starting zones have equal power. The way it works today, you could have the building blocks for a great season, but you kind of leave it up to the players to figure out who's allied with who, which leads to some amount of imbalanced matchups happening, which, then you're just sitting there for 70 days with your guaranteed win or loss, which I think should always be up in the air. Who's going to win? What's going to happen? That's a part of the hype and the fun, all right? Do you plan to have events that reward the grind, like in Rise of Kingdoms, how we have Marauders? So yes, they are working on some pre-season events, which I think is cool. I don't know if I particularly love grinding, to be real with you. There's a time where I'm into it and then I get bored of it, but maybe we'll see some more of that. From here, will there be changes to reverting hero levels? Look, there's always questions that should this have been asked? And the developers were like, yeah, recently we changed the drop down to level 30 instead of dropping all the way back down to 0. And it sounds like they feel like that is probably all they need to do for now. Maybe something else in the future, but we're going to see how it goes with the heroes dropping to level 30, or if they're not level 30 yet, staying at the level that they were at. The next question was related to lore, and the developer said, did you know that Nika and Nico are brother and sister? And that Nika, low-key, I'm interpreting here, but low-key kind of bullied Nico a bit. Nika made it into the Assassin's Guild. Nico didn't. Nico's kind of afraid of blood, so that's why he became an engineer. And the knives that Nika uses were actually made by Nico. So these two, they're redheaded brother and sister. Nika actually stole those blueprints and gave them to her brother to make the knives. Okay, up next, someone asked a question, what about a territory holding event? Like I said, not all questions are good questions because we know that there's already statues, which are a territory fight. So that already exists. I know some people don't like the statue fights. I like them. I think that if it's sort of balanced, it can be a lot of fun. Is there a way that we can get a slot lock for pets and control pet scale allocation? I've been saying this since the release of pets. I think this is beyond critical for making pets more fun. Nobody really truly likes the slot machine of skill application. You could spend an eternity to get a gangbuster skill and then it lands in the wrong spot and you just got effed. It's the opposite of fun with regard to collecting. And the developers had said, hey, yes, we are working on that. We don't know if it's going to be some sort of a lock or other system, but the goal is the same. We know there are things that are not satisfying and we're working to improve that. I think that is exactly right. Do you know how hype it is to get a 3-star skill? And do you know how unsatisfying it is to have it land on the talent scale and you're like, well, I can't keep it. Great that they're looking at that. Somebody asked a question about barricades. Can we get rid of the barricades? And, or in the very least, improve the slowdown so it's not 60%, which basically makes it so your march is not going to move. So here's a barricade and this barricade, that's the builder. Here's the info section. Doesn't it say what the percent slowdown is? Maybe because the status is invalid. Is that what's going on? I could find a barricade, but the point is that the developers will get back to us on what they want to do with barricades. All right. I think that maybe reducing the slowdown of the barricade would be a good thing. Here's a level 6 barricade. Doesn't show the percentage, but it's just, you basically stop moving forward. I actually think it's not a bad thing that in this game, a small number of players can hold off a large number of players, but I can also see how a barricade field is just super toxic. The game is kind of more about who got to the right position first than it is who's the better team. Season resets are fine for healthy player bases, but losing alliance progress sucks. That was kind of the question. And the answer here is that they're not really planning on changing the alliance tech resets. They feel like that's a fine part of the reset process, but they do need to balance resetting and get a look at that. So now things are going to get spicy. Somebody asks, leaks, please, reveal new heroes. And I was actually shocked that they were like, all right. So they said that mage heroes are confirmed next. I mean, we kind of knew this though. They're like telling us something without telling us anything, which is honestly genius with what they were doing, right? Like we know that if I go into my inventory, we scroll on down through my items, and when we look at my gold heads and what they can be exchanged for, right? We see that in G2, there are 4 unrecruited heroes. Well, like, anyone could figure out that we know we have 2 infantry coming up. So we have infantry, archers, and cavalry, which means these must have been mages. But still, like, we didn't know it until they said it. And in this meetup, they're like, yeah, you're getting mages. So first we're going to get the infantry, and maybe in the next season, we'll get the mages. And what I thought was really cool is that they will always want to have something cool about an upcoming hero, whether it is a new race or simply just having more diversity. They want each hero to do something unique, not just bigger numbers, but unique performance to differentiate them from each other, which I thought was super cool. And they said, we have some flying heroes in the future. It's possible we will get a flying mage soon. I mean, at the end of the day, I think they're kind of obligated each season to basically have 2 heroes of each troop type, and one of them is a flyer. The exception to that is infantry at this moment in time. That's not a flying situation. So you end up in a season with 8 new heroes, 2 for each troop type, and then 3 of them are flyers. None of those are infantry that fly. All right. Somebody said, hey, in Pokemon Go, you can get a shiny pet. What about that? And they said, actually, they liked that idea. And I actually think that is a very, very, very good idea. I'm not even being ridiculous when I say, like, if you had a special appearance to a pet, people would really like that. I think it would be actually fun. I do. Nice little surprise when you catch a pet and it's shiny. From here, somebody asked about VIP levels, and the developer said that VIP levels are coming, but not yet. Previously, the developers have said that they'll release new VIP levels when a certain number of people reach the previous level. So not enough people are VIP 15. Eventually, when that happens, they'll release a VIP 16. It's worth mentioning that in Rise of Kingdoms, they've actually gone in and made it so that we're all the way up to, I think, VIP 18 now, and they want to add the ability to trade VIP tokens in a special shop. Maybe we'll get something similar for COD, but we'll see. Okay, so next up, future plans. Well, their biggest task right now is creating Season 3. They've got a huge diagram, they said, showing the whole project. There's a new race that's coming, new heroes, legendary heroes, a 4th playable faction coming in Season 3, and it could be dwarves, or it could be a brand new race introduced in Season 3. They haven't decided yet, and it all depends on the story. So, I mean, they're still figuring out what should the story be for Season 3, right? Among other things. From here, could there be new behemoths introduced in Season 3? Maybe, but they're not going to commit to it yet. They welcome feedback about the map and asked, for feedback to be sent to them. So I know some people told them about these choke points that are like really crazy. I know I told them, I was like, did you know you can attack through zone 1 into a other zone? So like your enemy could have an unassailable position that can be used to assault your position. Is that intended? And so they're going to take a look at that and other things as well, which is really good. I also watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie on my way to the Call of Dragons meetup. And one thing became immediately obvious to me is that we need a behemoth that is an owlbear. An owlbear should absolutely, no questions asked, be the replacement for the giant bear in one of these seasons. Trust me. Owlbear is freaking beast. Should be a behemoth. And I gave them that feedback, by the way. I was like, dude, you need to make one of these. That would actually be insanely cool. From here, will there be armor for heroes in the future? The thing that everybody fears. Good news, though, the developer said, no, there will not be armor. So the artifact and the pet are kind of like a replacement for customizable armor on your heroes. Big win. Up next, though, are there going to be skins for heroes? And that is not planned. So up next is, will there be more blue heroes or gathering heroes? And they said yes. I think a new gathering hero is maybe currently being worked on. I really hope one of the new mages is not a mage gatherer. I doubt they would do that. That just seems weird. But importantly, what about your awakened heroes? Right now, you can't use your legendary tokens for an awakened hero for anything. And they said, yes, at some point you will be able to exchange your legendary heroes, your excess tokens for some goodies. Now, what would that be? Maybe it's an event, they said. Maybe it would be a feature that you have all the time. Maybe you'd be able to choose what you recycle and what you get. To be determined, but that's something they are thinking about. I'll be honest with you. I thought a skin on a hero would be a really great way to use excess tokens. I'm surprised that's not what we're getting. Because, like, I think the issue is that extra art is maybe prohibitively difficult. That might be why they're not doing that. But I don't... I think hero skins will be cool, but excess tokens for a hero will get a use. So how much value that is leaves up to debate whether or not, for example, you spin the wheel of a hero you've awakened. I would like to be able to do that, but whatever. Anyways, next up, are you going to add more research? No more research, the dev said. Thank goodness. And I think, to me, it's really obvious. Like, there's really no need to add more research. They've never done this for Rise of Kingdoms. I don't know why they would do this for Call of Dragons. Up next... will they plan to upgrade buildings to level 30? And the answer was no. Thank goodness. Same is true. Like, they never did this in Rise of Kingdoms. They have no intention of doing this at this moment in time. In Call of Dragons, it's not planned, were their words. And people asked about future plans for, like, small-scale PvE. And they said, oh, well, some of that will be coming soon. Like, we just got this event. I haven't even done this yet, but should be fun. I don't know. Go do a raid. I'm planning to do that. So we can expect more PvE and PvP events, I think. It seems like the developers are thinking about, this is my impression, but it seems like they're thinking about how do we find, like, synchronous PvP, asynchronous PvP, synchronous PvE, like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, they're looking at all the different types of game modes, and I think they're exploring it. And next up, question was, what ideas do you have for abilities for upcoming heroes? And they admitted a couple times with questions that were repetitive. They're like, I'm probably going to say what I already said. But they said they really want each hero to be unique and bring a new game mechanism that's a new way of playing and is really exciting. So I think we see that with the new infantry, that's going to be the case. But we don't yet have any details about what the next thing is going to be. Now, I'm going to be honest, I am super jet lagged, so I think I got to wrap this vid up. But if I were to leave you with, like, the biggest takeaways, we're going to have something to do with excess legendary tokens for a hero. It might be awesome. It might be just an exchange where, you know, you're getting stuff you can already get. Could be. We're getting new mages after the infantry roll in. There's probably going to be a flyer. And just when you think for 2 seconds about the framework of a season, 8 heroes, what are you going to get? It makes a lot of sense that we would be getting flyers there. And I am really hopeful for the things that they work on with the map. By the way, I have these keys. Bro, let's open up these keys real quick, wrap up the vid, and on low key, I might just need to take a nap. I'm so jet lagged right now. Oh, I don't know if I, like, push through it or just try to, like, rest and recover. I'm inclined to just take a little rest, please. I've got to be close to a legendary. With all these keys, come on. There we go, baby. What do I even want? I don't even know anymore. Maybe a Phoenix Eye would be nice. And, God, I have so many Wolf Woman of Healer. I believe that the drop rate of Phoenix Eye is lower. That or I'm just unlucky, and I think both could be true. All right, friends. If you enjoyed the vid, throw a like on here. Consider subscribing. I had a really great time in the meetup in Cologne, Germany. I really appreciate the developers giving me the opportunity to go out there. Thank you again for sponsoring my trip. Thank you again for sponsoring this video. And I might even do some giveaways from some of the swag they gave at the event. I couldn't fit it all into my suitcase. This struggle was real. But if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.